Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Tarot Today Radio. For the past 12 years, we've been bringing you the world of tarot. This is the official broadcast of the Tarot Guild, the international organization for tarot lovers, students, and professional readers since 2004. That's right, we're in our 18th year with the world's only full-featured tarot social media networking platform, thetarotguild.com. I'm your host, Dax Carlisle, coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona, and joining me is my fabulous co-host. She's Vice President of the Tarot Guild, Director of Communications, a professional tarot reader, and Crystal Reiki Master. Here she is, live from Amarillo, Texas, the one, the only, Mary Brown. Hey, Mary.
Hey, Dax. Hey, everybody. Happy Psychic Saturday. How's it going?
Oh, great. I'm out on the patio, and it's overcast, but very nice. A nice, what are we at? 80 degrees. Okay. It's 80 already.
Wow.
The weather's all over the place.
I'm still a little chilly down here in Amarillo, Texas, but, you know, it'll be spring later in the week and then winter again, and then we'll have a flash of summer, and, you know, that's where the hold my beer state when it comes to weather.
That's right. Hey, I want to tell everybody we are a live call-in show, so you can dial in at 714-816-4628. We'll be getting to the calls a little later in the show because we have a guest today. So excited. You can also join us in the chat room on the Tarot Guild website. Just go to thetarotguild.com/chat. You can listen to the show right below the chat room. You'll find the player for the shows. And you can chat with us live during the show. You can put in your comments. You can even ask for a mini reading right there in the chat room, thetarotguild.com/chat. Or just hit chat when you get over to the website there in the navigation. But we'd rather talk to you live on air. So dial in and get your spot now, so when we start taking calls, we take them in the order that they come in. You want to, have your spot. So 714-816-4628. Before we get to our guest today, Mary, I saw your card of the day, and I'm interested in what you're going to say about that.
Yes, so in our Psychic Talk Radio Facebook group, if you haven't joined that yet, please do. You want to be part of the conversation. Go over to psychictalk.net/Facebook. We have a page and a group. Like the page, join the group, and the card of the day comes to us from the Crystal Reading Cards by Rochelle Charman with beautiful photographs of crystals by Matt Walker. There's different photographers for different crystals in this deck, and Matt Walker did today's crystal, which is Tiger's Eye. The illustrations in the cards are done by Chayote Carter. And the Tiger's Eye crystal message today is about courage, okay? And Tiger Eye is one of my favorite stones. In fact, I'm actually wearing a bracelet right now that has Tiger Eye in it. I find it, I always have crystals on around there. Who knows? They're all over the place here. But Tiger Eye especially, I feel like it has a protective energy to it. It has this beautiful kind of effect to it where it's almost, I kind of feel like it almost looks like, a holographic image. We call it chatoyancy when it comes to Tiger Eye crystals, a way that it has that sort of reflective surface and kind of looks very glittery. And, so what this card is about is that, sometimes, and I'm sure there's some of our listeners out there that are kind of maybe having a difficult time kind of standing up for themselves, standing in their own power. sometimes we can get kind of caught up in fears and doubts and insecurities that kind of run through our head, and it kind of can affect the way that we're walking in the world. And so Tiger Eye today is saying, like, no, today, you stand in your power, and to feel secure enough to banish those doubts and to take that chance. Having courage doesn't mean risky behavior. Having courage means that you're sure-footed in a way that you're moving in the world, that if you have a goal or it's something that you want to do, do it. Do it. Stand in your power. Do it. Work with your solar plexus chakra today, okay, and this weekend. Strengthen that. Strengthen your sense of security and strengthen your own willpower to do what you need to do to move forward in your life. But that's a message for today. Did you draw a card of the day as well, or what are the numbers like today, Dax?
Oh, it dovetails so nicely with the card you got. Having the courage to move forward, to start something, because it's all about the one energy today. So I pulled a card from Ciro Marchetti's Tarot Grand Lux, which I just got in the mail, and got the Ace of Swords. So there's that one energy, new beginnings and so forth. But the day today is the 19th. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. It's that one energy. And then if you add that to the month 3, you get 4 plus the year 2022. So the world year number is 6. You get 10 again. 1 plus 0 is 1. There's that one energy again. It's all about beginnings today. And your card dovetails in nicely, having the courage to do that. Whether it's, and by the way, I'm going to throw in, especially if it has anything to do with electronics, anything to do with telecommunication, the internet, things like that. So, yeah, start the podcast, start the YouTube channel, anything along those lines, yeah. So that's what I got for the numerology and the card of the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, so do you want to tell everybody about our guest? We'll bring her on.
Yes. This is the exciting part, folks. We are so lucky today to have a wonderful guest on, Leeza Robertson. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her, at least through her work. She is the author of the Animal Totem Tarot and also the Mermaid Tarot and the new Soul Cats Tarot that just came out, and my new favorite deck, Cirque Du Tarot, which
holy cow!
If you look, I know, it's like, wow, all this tarot. But she's also one half of Quantum Wealth Coaching, which is a luxury brand that helps 7-figure entrepreneurs. So, and she's written several books. She has.
Oh, we got to ask her about that.
Yeah, we've got to ask her about everything. So why don't we bring her on?
Awesome. Here she is. Welcome to the show, Leeza.
Hi, Leeza.
Hi. Thank you very much for having me. I just want to correct one thing in your introduction. I am not with Quantum Wealth Coaching anymore, so that is not part of my current world.
Well, we'll just X that out then. X that out.
I'll X that out. Oh,
Hey, that's one less thing we have to ask about. Oh, my God.
Yeah, have Llewellyn take that off your bio page, too, because that's where I got it from.
Yeah, no, I think they just updated it recently, so
okay, awesome. Awesome. Well, I am dying to ask you about Cirque Du Tarot. And I have to tell you, I'll admit, just so the FTC is really happy and everything, Llewellyn sent me a copy of this deck. And it's funny because I had, I forget what it was. I had requested a book that we wanted to review and talked to the author about, and the Llewellyn publicist, who's such a sweetheart, put in this Cirque Du Tarot, and I was like mesmerized. I'm like, what is this? And it's like getting into this whole world, right, of the circus. And I have to say, I have your Animal Totem Tarot. I love that deck, by the way. Cirque Du Tarot was such a different experience for me. And I read the book cover to cover, and I felt like it taps into like the kid, or I don't know, our inner child or something. But I was wondering, like, what was it about the circus that made sense to you to make a tarot deck out of? Because who would have thought of it?
Well, I've got to say, most of my decks actually come from the decks that I'm hoping that Barbara will reject, ideas Barbara will reject. So when I submit ideas, I actually submit like around 5 at a time. And I always have one in there that I'm really hoping they won't pick up on, and it's always the one they want. So that was pretty much how Cirque came about. So I was like, I wonder what it'd be like to put a circuit, play with a circus deck. I'll just throw it on here and see what they say. And I wrote the synopsis, and I gave a few examples along with all the other ones that I submitted. They were like, ooh, this one. I was like, damn it. So
I love that. Well, you did it to yourself, right? That's what's so great about
every single time.
Well, what's funny is that I read this deck, and I read the book, and it doesn't feel to me like it's really just the circus. Like, I think even in my review I said, like, look, this is a deck that I think people, theater geeks might be really into this. Anybody who's into, like, the performing arts, because it really kind of fits all of that idea of getting ready for the show and the different acts and the different performers and everything. And, you live in Vegas. Did you go to see a lot of shows to prepare, to research?
I have seen a lot of shows. So what happened was once we knew we were going to have this idea, I knew I didn't want to do a circus. Like, that was absolutely... Like, I was adamant about that. And that was part of the brief in the original idea, is that if we go with this, I don't want to do a circus, because I actually find circuses a little creepy. So no, it has to be about the whole concept performance. It has to be about, and I wanted to really tap into that whole aspect of life itself as a show, and that we play different parts and we move around. And yes, I am very fortunate to live here in Las Vegas, and my wife was a limo driver for 15 years, and we used to get comped show tickets. So I have had the honor of seeing quite a lot of shows here in town. So that experience very much shaped how this deck was put together.
Oh, that's awesome. And, my goodness, there's so many sort of fresh, what I like about tarot decks, new ones, and even, new to me ones, is that I'm always looking for, I guess, like a reimagining of the tarot in a sense. I'm looking for something that increases my vocabulary as a tarot reader. And I think this deck really does accomplish that, because you don't, we can read a lot of different, unfortunately, we can read a lot of different tarot books and see a lot of different decks, and whether it's like just a rehashing of the same idea, even the same laundry list of keywords, the same concepts when it comes to the court cards and et cetera, boring. You turn all that on its head with this and with the book as well. And I was wondering, two big things, well, a lot of things stood out to me, but two major things stood out to me. The use of non-binary characters. Can you talk about, was that your idea to do that, and what it meant, why it was important?
Yeah, so I'm a queer woman, and it is very important to me that we move the binary barriers of interpretation of archetypes. So that was another thing that I was really very firm about with this deck, is that we were going to approach the court cards without a gender association, so that we could talk about stages and process and fluidity and inclusivity. And that's also reflected in a lot of my books as well, that I want to slowly start moving this needle a little bit and getting people out of this idea that it's an either or, that we live in this limited binary construct of archetypal energy to which is only relevant to a select few, especially considering that our tarot world has grown exponentially in the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, Dax, you and I have talked a lot about the mainstreaming of tarot, how it's okay for us to be us now.
Yeah, well, when Dior is doing fashion using tarot, I mean,
you don't get more mainstream
than that.
You don't get more mainstream,
and like all sorts of them. Yeah, it's part of pop culture now, and I think that if we, the tarot people, are going to move with the movement, then we have to be more inclusive. We have to be more mindful of how we're reaching people, because we know within ourselves how healing tarot is, how it can be used in psychoanalysis and in therapeutic settings and in energetic vibrational healing, in personal and professional development. So to me, if we truly believe that these are the things that the cards can offer, then once we put them into the mainstream, we have to have multiple entry points for those coming to this world for the first time.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, like we have that responsibility.
I feel.
Is it a responsibility? I think it is.
Yes.
The other thing that that really struck me is what you do with the court cards. And Dax and I have had like a back and forth about the idea of a progression, from the page to the knight to the queen to the king. It's the same character. The way you do it is beautiful in the Cirque Du Tarot, because we see the page, sitting there, in front of the mirror, getting ready, for the show, like the first kind of stage of getting ready. And then when we look at the knight, the costumes coming on, getting more ready. Then we go to the queen, and then finally the king. And it's, you have the sense that the same person has progressed through it. Where did that idea come to you from?
Because I work with entrepreneurs. So I use tarot in business development, and I specifically use the court cards for business development. When we talk about the different stages of business, the different growth, the archetypes of the court cards lend themselves beautifully to people who are just starting business, people who have been in business for a year or two, people who have been in business for 5 years, and then people who are building legacy businesses. So that's where it kind of came from. So I really did bring in the entrepreneurial teachings with tarot in that respect, and I thought this would be a beautiful deck to put that in, because we are removing the binary concept of gender out of it and showing processes and how we ourselves move through the energy of these archetypes through growth and expansion and expertise, and how then we move into a different level of mastery and legacy.
I love that. And I think it's it's like a more holistic way of dealing with the court cards. You know, people struggle. People struggle with them. I feel like they everybody has their different concepts. They think, you know, what is this about? And I think historically it kind of represented like the different sort of stations in life, which is kind of, you know, so limiting because, you know, for a long time people, you know, couldn't really rise above their station in life. If you were a servant, like a page, chances are that was what you were going to do. You know, you weren't going to become king. So there's something very empowering, I think, about the way you did it in this deck. It gives us a sense that, you know, we can always rise above and move forward. So I really appreciate that. And the artwork in this is just, I love it. Josh Tufts does a wonderful job and such modern concepts with it. Do you choose the artist for your decks? Like, why did he stand out to you? Is what I'm wondering.
So it is interesting, the process of finding an artist, and I can only talk from Llewellyn's perspective because that's who I publish through. It is different with every publishing house. But for Llewellyn, when we submit our decks and we put the material together, we design the 78 cards, we do put an artistic vision. So we kind of say, like, this is the vision I would like to have. And 9 times out of 10, like, they completely ignore me. And they did with this deck too. Like, this is not the original artistic vision I had for this deck. I actually was envisioning something along the lines of real kind of like comic book art, like a graphic novel art approach for this deck. That's how I imagined it when I created it. And when I sent in all the samples and the artistic vision, they're like, no, we are completely ignoring you on that. So then we started looking for artists. And I think Barbara and I, before we landed on Josh, I think we went through about 150 portfolios before we landed on Josh. And I knew that if we went with Josh, it was going to take the deck in a totally different direction from what I first envisioned. And I was absolutely fine with that because I was like, I want to see where this surrealist, dreamlike quality could take this, and I'm curious to see how he plays with the art direction of the cards. And I think the end result speaks for itself. I mean, he did a brilliant job.
He did a wonderful job. And so just, you know, I do have a couple questions about this process, though, if you don't mind. I'm looking at the devil card, right, that you have in this deck, and I actually, you know, I don't know if the devil is anybody's favorite card. It's not my favorite card, but I love this concept for it. And so when we see this, you know, kind of dominatrix-looking woman, right? She has these cages hanging above, and she's got this guy, you know, kind of on a leash along with this woman, you know. So it's still the concept of the devil card where you have the two figures and they're chained, you know, they're bound to the devil figure. Did you come up with the idea of what that would look like with that woman sitting in that high back chair, or does the artist just take how much do you sketch out of what the artist actually creates?
Oh, that is 100% my concept, because the devil is actually my favorite card.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I don't know if there's anybody. And you're like, me. It's actually me.
That is my favorite. Yeah, no, that is my favorite card because it's actually my life path card. So I'm a 15-6 in numerology. So the devil and the lovers are actually very personal cards to me. So when I sit down and create these cards in a deck, oh really? Yeah. So when I sit down and create these cards in a deck, I really am like putting little components of how I envision these archetypes for me and in my life and how they've showed up. So like I feel like I get to have a lot of fun with the devil in that respect because, as I said, that is like my life path card. I am Miss 15/6. I am the living representation of the devil and the lovers.
Wow. I'm like stunned, I'm like, whoa, that is so out of all the cards that I'm like asking about. It's like, whoa, I'm so psychic. Oh my gosh. And then, the other thing too is, I know you've written a lot of books. I haven't read them. I've read the guidebook for this, and I've read the guidebook for the Animal Totem Tarot. And what really struck me about your writing is, with the Animal Totem Tarot, I love the messages for each animal that you wrote, and I like the way you had set up that book. But under the big top, the guidebook for the Cirque Du Tarot, this is a good read. I mean, and not, when we say somebody's, a good writer, God knows what that means, and that could mean a million things. They could be writing, copy for an industrial script. Who knows, right? You're a good storyteller. I mean, I really got into this guidebook.
Thank you. It was important to me that the guidebook was just as much part of the show. Again, having been to so many shows and theatre productions, even before I moved to the States, when I lived in Melbourne, I went to a lot of theatre. When I lived in Southeast Asia, I went to a lot of theatre. So I do have this very, art, creative theatre background, and I've read a lot of playbooks. And I was like, if we're going to do this whole show thing, then the guidebook has to be like one of these amazing playbooks that takes us from beginning to end of the show. So I'm glad that translated because that probably was my biggest worry for this deck. Well, there were lots of worries with this deck, but one of them was the guidebook.
Yeah, no, you did a fantastic job. And, I love it when they have like full size colored pictures in it too. So, what it reminded me of, because it's broken down into like acts. It reminded me of a program, like when you go to like see a Broadway play and you get the big, book for Annie or whatever the play is, and you have pictures in it, and it's like, here's the first act, the second act. That's what it reminded me of, like one of those keepsake books that you get at the theater. But I wanted to ask you, because storytelling, is its own sort of art. It's a little bit different from just writing. And again, writing can mean a lot of different things. Were you somebody, maybe even as a kid, were you somebody who was into stories or fairy tales or anything like that? Like, how did you learn to really tell a good story? Not everybody can tell a good story,
Practice. Like, I read a lot of books. I read over 100 books a year. I'm writing all the time. And I'm writing lots of different things all the time, and I'm constantly refining my writing skills through working with different writing processes, writing mentors, doing different writing classes. So it is one of those things where writing is a skill that has to be refined, practiced, refined, and practiced. So, it's one of those things of you get your 10,000 hours, you claim that badge, then you move on to 20,000 hours, and maybe if you're lucky, you'll spit out a few good yarns in the process.
I love that. And the other thing that I'm still stuck on this book a little bit, because there's a few things that you do in here that are a little bit different that I wanted to make sure, kind of draw the attention to for our listeners, is that when you describe the cards, a lot of people are used to going to guidebooks looking for the upright and reversed meanings. They're looking for keywords. You stay away from all of that because that's good. We have more than enough of that. Okay. What I like is you don't even look at it as like upright and reversed. You call them ally and challenger. And is there an important reason to you for doing it that way? How do you feel about reversals?
Well, I wrote a whole book on reversals, so I feel pretty passionately about it.
Okay. I should put that on my reading list.
It's a pretty big book. You could use it as a doorstop. It's, I guess for me, because I write so many guidebooks, like you want to make them interesting even just as a writer. Like you don't want to be writing the same thing over and over again, even though you're telling the same story. And that becomes the ultimate challenge as a deck creator, because you are telling the same story. Like the story of tarot never changes. It's always the same. But how you tell it has to be different. So that is something I really think about when I sit down and do the guidebooks, is how am I telling the story different? How are we keeping it the same, but throwing a whole different perspective over the top of it? So I write it in 2 layers, really. I make sure that I'm honoring the original story, which is the tarot, and then reinterpreting that story through the lens of the theme.
I like that. I like that a lot. And, you know, there's also, you know, I talked about how I felt like, you know, this does what I'm looking for. It it adds to my vocabulary. You know, I think it adds to any reader's vocabulary. There are a few cards here that really stuck out with me. The 9 of Cups was the one that really caught my attention. You know, I'm reading through the guidebook, and, you know, you talk about the consequences of wishes. And I don't know why. You know, sure, there's that old saying, you know, be careful what you wish for, but I don't think that really is something that comes to mind. When we see the 9 of Cups, usually people are like, oh boy, I get what I want. I get what I, you know, but you really kind of caution us to really think about that. What is it that we do want? You know, that there's a certain magic at play with it. And, you know, I thought about that idea that you have in here as the idea that with the 9 of Cups, that these wishes are really connected to our idea of making decisions, and that, you know, that we can be challenged by that, because sometimes it's not so easy to really know or decide what we want. Where does that come from? You know, this philosophy. I feel like it's a philosophy that we should, like, you know, embrace now, because I think it's wise.
Well, I guess it comes from years of being a coach, like, and seeing people get what they want and then being miserable getting it. Like, I can't tell you how many clients I had who tell you they want something, and then they get it, and it comes with all of these consequences, and they go, oh, but I didn't ask for that. And you're like, well, yeah, you kind of did. You kind of did. That's exactly what you asked for. It's not my fault you didn't think about the ripple effects of this. It also comes from studying quantum theory. It also comes from, as I said, I do a lot of reading throughout the year, and there's actually a version of Alice in Wonderland that's told through this perspective of these wish stones, and the guy who actually creates these stones never uses them, because he says you don't understand what you're actually asking for. So it's kind of like, it was kind of a mixture of that particular storyline and that character, along with quantum theory and quantum entanglement. That is, that everything is connected. You don't just get one piece of the pie. You get all the ingredients, the bakers, the farmers, and all their ancestors. And being a little bit more discerning, because we do live in a highly capitalistic, instant gratification society that doesn't really sink into the impacts of consumer decisions. So elevating that awareness and saying that even just what brand of sponge you might buy at the store has a ripple effect of consequences. So it's about that kind of thing, but trying to put it in 150 words.
Right. Well, That's deep, man. That's I'm like, whoa, quantum. That's amazing.
Yeah, well,
but
maybe
it stands out.
Maybe it has something. Yeah, maybe it has something to do with the fact that Leeza and I have the same birth cards or something. Because I'm the same way. I look into the same things like quantum theory and quantum entanglement, and it's like listening to me talk. Listening to Leeza.
Yeah,
I love it.
Right? It's the devil. Here's the thing. This is the devil part of the personality, because the devil knows what the consequences are. The devil knows exactly where all those threads of your desires go. And the devil says to you, are you really sure this is what you want? He never judges. The devil never judges. The devil never goes, listen, I'm going to give you some advice. I really don't think you should take that one. The devil merely says, here's your smorgasbord of wants, wills, desires, and passions. Are you absolutely 100% committed to this path? Right?
Yeah.
And most people go, get out of the way, buddy, and give me my just deserves. And the devil goes, your wish is my command. Off you go.
Oh, and you mentioned coaching, and that reminds me that I wanted to ask you about what you've got coming out. There's more, folks. There's still more. So you have a book coming out, Tarot Priestess, Using the Cards to Heal, Grow, and Serve. That's coming out around May?
Yes, April, May, I believe. Yes.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. Okay,
so I actually have two books
using the cards that way. Okay.
Yeah, this was a big year. I had 3 releases this year. Soul Cats came out this year. Tarot Priestess comes out this year. And then in December, I have another book coming out called Mermaid Magic, which is pulling apart and exploring the mermaid Parthenon along with the chakras and the lunar cycles. Tarot Priestess is, and because I'm actually working on book 8 right now, I've got to go back 2 books, so just give my brain a minute. 1, 2. Tarot Priestess is really about using the cards for a devotional practice. And again, I wanted to talk about the divine feminine in an inclusive manner. I didn't want it to be a restricted, white, straight female story, which tends to be how the divine feminine is taught. And I get into a lot of trouble when I point that out to people. And you will be surprised how many shows I do not get invited back to. But to me, it's important because I'm not a straight woman. Yes, I'm white, but I'm not a straight woman. So that narrative never worked for me, and I always felt really excluded from the goddess path because I didn't feel I fit the narrative. I didn't feel there was a space for a woman like me who was intellectual and cerebral, not overly nurturing, and queer in this goddess, theology.
Right.
Let's call it that way.
Fascinating.
So I always felt really excluded from this divine feminine process. And it wasn't until I really started researching proper goddess theory. And what I mean by proper goddess theory, I mean how it originally, way back before the religion we know now, was taught. And it was not taught the way it's taught today in metaphysical circles. It was very inclusive. It was about community. It was about acceptance. It was about being who you are and, come as you are type thing. So Tarot Priestess was based on that philosophy, and we used the cards to explore the goddesses as us, not as someone else's version of us.
Oh, can I ask a quick question about that? Because I'm, just your average straight woman or whatever, but I feel totally excluded from the whole goddess, metaphysical whatever thing they're doing.
And me too.
I'm like, yuck. Yeah,
even as a gay
totally
man.
Excluded. Yeah, what the heck,
Right.
But
I am divine feminine, damn it.
Damn it. Do you get into the pre-Islamic goddesses at all? Because I'm always fascinated by them.
So one of the things that I am also very careful of is appropriation in metaphysical spaces. So I did try and stick to goddesses that were in my personal wheelhouse. So there are only 4 temples in this book, and they are broken up to match the suits. And only one of them is not from my personal lineage, and that is Goddess Saraswati. The other goddesses are Danu, because she is the supreme Celtic goddess, and I am almost 98% Celtic. We have Lilith, Goddess Lilith. So I wanted to make sure I had a dark goddess in there. So we have Goddess Lilith in there. And then we have the Priestesses of Avalon. So those are the 4 goddesses that are holding the pillars of the temples for the suits.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, I'm going to have to get that book too, because I'm
my God, the list is getting. I'm taking notes.
I know. Are we taking notes? Yeah, no, Goddess Danu I want to learn more about, because I just discovered a few years ago I'm 50% Irish. I'm like, oh, geez, I should learn about that. Wow. And then what else are you you said you have 2 books coming out.
But also, before we wrap up, I got to find out about Soul Cats. So, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Another book coming out.
Yeah, what do you want to know about Soul Cats, Beck? Let's talk about the cats.
Only because I mentioned that, and then I was like, oh, wait, she's got Soul Cats, So we have to ask about that. I have not seen the deck at all, so I'm totally in the blind here, but just the title was exciting. So I was like, oh, I got to find out about Soul Cats.
All right, so let me give you the Soul Cat story. So Barbara often comes in and teaches inside my writing groups. I run writing groups every so often, and I just launched a 12-month an ongoing writing program. And this was about 2 years ago, and she was telling the students that if they were really serious about getting into tarot, then these were some of the themes that they saw reoccurring, right? She was actually like giving them publishing gold. And one of the ones was cats. They're like, we just can't seem to get enough cat decks. And not one of those students actually did change their idea to like kind of match this publishing gold. And I'm like, okay, you're all asleep at the wheel. So I was like, wouldn't it be fun if I just plucked one of those off the list and threw it around and see what I could do with it? So I was like, well, the cats might be fun. Let's have a look at the cats. But again, I don't want to just make a cat deck because I'm not normal. I wanted to make these cats that were sent to Earth from the angels to be guardians of humans, to make sure that we were doing the right thing and stuck to our path of awareness and expansion and divine love, right? So that was my backstory for this deck, and the Soul Cats Tarot was born.
Wow. I love that idea. Cats that were sent by the angels. I'm writing that down too. I've been taking notes this whole interview. This never happens. It's very, very, very different. You're not normal. You're right, but like in the best way. So yeah, before you go, what is the other book that's coming out? Because I got to put that down too. You got the Tarot Priestess.
Tarot Priestess, and then the Mermaid Magic book comes out in December. And we won't talk about next year's releases because that's too far away. But there is the Mermaid book that comes out in December, and that is all about, I wanted to keep that book as far away from tarot as humanly possible. I didn't want to link it to the Mermaid Tarot in any way, shape, or form. I wanted to make it a standalone book. And I sent it in, and the very first note they sent back to me was, so we're thinking that we should put tarot in this book. And I'm like, of course you are. because that was the one thing I deliberately didn't put in it.
So did it end up in the book?
It's connected. Oh, yes, it did. So now we have it connected to the Mermaid Tarot, but it is still a standalone book. So it is, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the teachings that I personally have learned from the mermaid since making the Mermaid Tarot and break it into a real usable system. So I created a mermaid Parthenon and broke down 12 different archetypes from the world of the mermaids, from the ocean goddess to the sea witch to the nymph. I don't know what else we've got in there. There's 12 of them, and I wanted to put them in a healing context so they're aligned. We've got is there 12? No, there's not 12 of them because they're aligned to the chakras. So there's 8 of them, and they're aligned to the chakras plus the aura, and then we have them connected to different moon phases. So the whole book flows, and then they're connected to a sacred space. So the whole book flows through this Parthenon where we are introduced to this particular archetype who works with this particular chakra, with this particular moon cycle, and is connected to this specific place within the environment. And that's that book.
Wow. Okay, you have to come back, when this wow. Dax, we have to have her on again to do the mermaid magic thing. We got to get that book. We got a lot we got to talk to you about. What do you think? You got to come back. Cuz my mind is blown. I'm speechless, and I'm a chatterbox. Nobody ever makes me speechless.
Oh my God, you're giving us
gosh.
so much work. We have to review books and decks and just and have her back on the show 13 times.
I know. I've got to study quantum physics now. What?
Yeah. Well, I can help you with that part. But I hope you had fun with us, Leeza.
This was great. I love being in spaces where I can talk about, deeper philosophical awareness raising topics, and I don't have resistance on the other side of the conversation. Wow, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm. And it's radio. You didn't have to. It's radio. You didn't have to do your hair. No makeup.
You know what? It was actually looking good today, and I was like, well, that's okay.
Missed opportunity.
We should have done video. Oh boy.
No, my eyes.
Yeah, see, Mary and I do the show in our jammies,
Yeah, I'm in my robe still. Too much information.
I've got to go and record some I've got to go and record some videos after I finish this for my Patreon members, so that's okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of what sounds like a very busy life to come and talk to us. And we would love to have you on again to talk about mermaid magic or anything you want to talk about. Yeah, there's no resistance here. Okay, consider this
Thank you.
Friendly territory on the Tarot Today's radio show. Thank you. Thanks so much, Leeza, for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Thank you for having
me. Bright blessings for all the incredibly wonderful, imaginative work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift.
It enriches our lives.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks again, Leeza.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was awesome.
Wow.
I think we went a little bit longer. I think we went a little longer than she was expecting. She has to get those videos done.
She was blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you're doing the what now and the what and another thing and everything, and just so creative. But hey, we should tell everybody what is coming up on the Psychic Talk Radio Network this week.
Right.
Do you want to know? Does everybody want to know? I'll let you know. On Our next show is going to be on Monday, March 21st. It's the Wisdom of the Soul show with your host, Janice Fuchs, at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And that's going to be followed also on Monday, March 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have Spiritual Guidance Radio with Angelic Channel and healer Catherine Hahn. She's going to be doing free on-air guidance. And then Dax and I will be back next Saturday, March 26th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for another episode of the Tarot Today radio show. And that'll be open lines, free readings, and it's our Psychic Spin segment. So that's going to be pretty exciting, where we draw cards on the big questions. What do you want to know from the universe? And don't forget, this Tuesday in the Tarot Guild Facebook group, Dax and I will be doing a Facebook Live where you can join in the conversation and let us know, maybe what questions you would like us to ask during our Psychic Spin segment next Saturday. And next Sunday is the next show. I got carried away with Psychic Spin. I always do. Next Sunday, March 27th, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, is a Magic Universe show with your host, Sharona Rapsick, and she's going to have a special guest. Catherine Hahn is going to be on Sharona's show talking about angels as a gift that our world needs now, and also doing free tarot readings. And that's all the things coming up on the Psychic Talk Radio Network here. You can find all of those listed by going to psychictalk.net/upcoming. Yes, and you can also always check our events coming up on the Tarot Guild website, thetarotguild.com. You can even just type in a new page on your browser there, new tab, thetarotguild.com/events will bring up all the events. And you already mentioned the live on Tuesday, but tomorrow we have a free workshop, Numerology for Tarot Readers, with Sharona Rapsick and myself. Actually, what we're going to do is you're going to learn what numerology is, its connection to the tarot, and how you can use numerology to inform you and your clients, always give great readings, and create added value for your services. So go over to thetarotguild.com. You'll see a banner right there on the main page, and just click on that Numerology for Tarot Readers banner. You can see how you can join us live. We're going to be on Zoom. So that's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. Thought I'd mention that. And I can't wait for our live. Oh, and really try to join us for the live on the group, especially if you have any ideas, for the Psychic Spin, because we need some, interesting things to ask the tarot. These are the big questions, right, Mary? Big questions. Why are we here? Are robots taking over? Where did we come from? We never asked that. We never asked, where did we come from? Just saying. We could ask that. But yeah, no, it's so fun. I think, I love the questions that people come up with for the Psychic Spin episode, and there's so many, it's more fun sometimes to ask questions on these bigger, life questions or philosophical questions, or even futuristic questions when we ask about robots and AI, that kind of stuff. To me, it's kind of more fun to use tarot to address those questions, because often I think tarot's on the micro level, where we're asking questions about our lives, about our job, about our family, about our love life, all of that stuff. It's kind of nice to sort of showcase the ability of the tarot to actually speak to the larger ideas too. Right. Absolutely. So that's what's coming up, and you can always join us on the Tarot Guild website. It's free to sign up. Top of any page, it says sign in, sign up. Just click on that. You can use your social media. I mean, we've got, I think, Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You can sign in that way, or you can put in a email address and a password, and it's free to join. And you can use all the features of the website
as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, it's a full-featured social media networking platform, not just a website, and it's free to join. See, we have time to take a couple of calls here. You ready,
awesome.
Mary? Who's been waiting the longest?
I'm ready.
Looks like area code 415 has been waiting the longest. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. This is Catherine.
I didn't catch that. Mary, did you catch that?
Is it better?
Your line's breaking up quite a bit. I'm having trouble hearing you. Now, try that again. What's your name, hon?
Catherine.
I can't make it out at all. You, Mary?
No, I'm not sure. I can't hear it. It's a little too broken up. Are you on a speakerphone or something?
Oh, actually, her call dropped just then, so it must have been the connection. Hopefully, she'll call back. I can't even say she because it might have been a guy because I couldn't really make anything out. Yeah, it could have been a he. So hopefully she'll call back. Could have been neither. We'll look
could
for
have
that.
been non-virus, Mary.
I know we have to check all the boxes now, especially Liza's watching us. Anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll look for that 415 area code, but meanwhile we got a 919 area code. Hello, caller, are you there? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I am here. My name is Kay, and I'm calling from Georgia.
Hi, Kay.
What
do you want to talk about today?
I have a quick question. Janae, I'm on the phone. I lost my job earlier this week, and I am wondering, do you see something new coming soon? Well, I'm grateful to be away from that role because it was very toxic. I am ready for something new. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, definitely you're in the middle of a transition right now. The main focus card is the death card. And that's always about transitions, one door closing, another door opening. In the background, the dawn is coming up. So that's telling me, yeah, definitely. It may take a little bit of refocusing, okay, because I got the Page of Swords, and he's focused on that one thought or idea. You may have to shift what you're focusing on as far as work. You want something that's more like the King of Cups comes in, and he's saying you want something that's more emotionally stable for you, obviously not like the last situation, but more than that, something that's emotionally fulfilling. You want something that's fulfilling. So don't take this definitely. As, I left my job and I'm just going to run out and find the next Muggle job. Instead of thinking of it that way, think of it as a transition and moving on to bigger and better things. Really take some time to think about this. Just don't take just the first thing that comes along. I mean, it could happen in as quickly with the timing here. It's as quickly as 8 days. Within a week you could find something else. But I don't know if you're going to be completely satisfied. It could take as long as 8 weeks. So somewhere between 8 days and 8 weeks. And I know that's a big, long span of possible time there, but the reason why I'm, saying it this way is because I really want you to think about this. Don't just take the next job. Think about full transition in your life. What can I do with my skills and abilities that I have or can acquire quickly and I can use to do what would be really emotionally fulfilling for me, what I really would like to be doing, not just the next job. And then let's see what Mary's getting. Mary, what are you getting?
Well, oddly enough, one of the cards I got was the Page of Swords. So everything
there you go.
that Dax was saying about that definitely applies. And often, pages to me are messengers too, and it comes up in the future position for me. So I feel like, you could be hearing about a new job opportunity coming up, but definitely you want to, think about, how you're putting your feelers out there, who you're communicating with, that kind of thing. Be a bit strategic with it, right? Because the Chariot card comes up here along with the Seven of Wands and the Nine of Wands too. Now the Nine of Wands is kind of interesting because it's like, in whatever way that you can, right? Let go completely of this other job. You got let go, whatever, we always have feelings connected to that. It was a toxic environment anyways, but taking all that energy in that you've been taking in from that job, it's really going to help you to just close the book on that and turn your back on it and not try to go into the next phase or something new, carrying that residual energy. So that's the one thing that I think is going to really help. Really, I think you're not going to have a problem, finding the next job, but definitely, pick and choose. Pick and choose. Don't just take anything.
And I feel that. I truly feel that. I feel that. Yeah.
Good.
I think the biggest thing that I kind of like this morning, I've been so relieved about this job being over because of the stress of it. But this morning, I think I kind of woke up with a little realization and a little panic because okay, what am I going to do with finances and all that? So it just kind of hit me this morning. So.
Right, and look, when we're trying to go into something new, entering a new phase and taking on a new job and, kind of changing directions, we don't need to be weighed down by that, So put that out, because this is going to, drain your energy, and you want to feel, ready to go, like that Chariot card.
Right.
And I'll say, so, if you just let it go. And don't worry about it. Just go forward.
Well, thanks for the call, Kay. Hope
Thank
that helped
you so
out.
much. Blessings to you both. Yes, it does.
Blessings
Enjoy
to
the rest
you
of your
too.
weekend. Yeah.
Bye.
And I understand having that almost panic, and so call into the tarot show, But the thing is, the secret to that is to get beyond that is what you do. Shift your focus from focusing on what just happened and leaving the job and what are you going to do next. Shift the focus onto the positive. What do I really want? What do I really want to be doing? I want to be working with kids or in a garden, or I want to be podcasting, or I'd really like to start a YouTube channel this year, or I want to write that book. What makes your heart sing? I like doing this certain craft for people, and put your focus on that. It will dissolve those negative and panicky feelings, and it'll move you towards what you really want to do and your next job, or maybe you start your own business. Who knows? So, that's what you do. That's how the law of attraction, that's how the universe works. Well, we're at the end of the show. I can't believe it. I think this is the closest we've come to an hour show and not going over. It's only 4 minutes after.
It can be done.
It can be done. It can be done. Yes. And so let's see. When are we going to see them again? So we're going to see you, and you're going to see us because we're going to be on video, live in the Facebook group. Be sure you go join the Facebook group so you see this come up, folks. Go over to Facebook and search for. Yeah, we have 68, almost 7,000 members. Yeah, look for that group. and the Tarot Guild, and join the group. It's a private group, and Mary and I will be live on Tuesday. You can ask anything you want to ask. We'll even pull a card for you, if you're coming from the radio show. But typically the kind of questions we're answering are general questions about tarot, numerology, different decks and spreads and things like that, you can ask. And also if you are thinking about becoming a professional reader, our professional reader certification that the Guild has, anything that's on your mind like that, you can ask Mary and I, and then come with your ideas for the psychic spin, right, Mary?
Yes, we want to hear your ideas. What is it that you've always wondered about the world, about life, about existence? Yeah.
Yes. All righty. Well, thanks, everybody, for being here. We don't have a show without our listeners and callers. And thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Dax. And thanks, everybody. See you next
Goodbye,
week,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.
Good night. Good night, Mary Ellen.
Good night, John Boy.